report formats really set a tone automatically. Even this little illustration they put out here, you got really, it's concise, it's clear. Look at the left-hand margins as you go down. Now this is double space. Normally on a business format, you really want to sit down and not use the MLA format, which is here, but you really want to go everything to the left justification in the process. But this depends on the company's function and everything else. But in this case, look how concise, it's nice block letters as you go through. And they also went through and they justified the left column and the right column as you go through. So this is one style, but it depends as to what the company culture is about. Here you have this nice, clean, precise style. I recommend a different style, but I want to make sure you understand there's other formats depending on where you're at. So report formats, there's a lot of digital formats. There's digital PDF files as you go through, digital slide decks, infographics. Graphs are great in certain reports. Email and memo format, it depends what your company has. A lot of times you want to have a formal format for your signature line as well. Forms and templates, you know what? I used to think they're really a pain, except here's a reality. Let's say, for instance, you're applying for a job. Everybody applies for a job. They got their resume and they have left-hand margins, centered margins. They have 2 different columns and everything else, but they have to fill out an application. The application forces everybody into a uniformity. So the people that are looking at 40 applications, their eyes aren't wandering trying to find, well, where's the education? Okay, over here, this guy included it first, and over here it's last. She's got a really nice one. She did this over here. So you're wandering. It forces you into a specific format. So the eyes of the readers aren't sitting there jerked back and forth trying to find information. It's all in a concise format. Templates are really very helpful for that. A letter format as you go through, it's going to depend what your organization really focuses on. My recommendation all the time on a memo format or letter format is no indentation, single space paragraphs, double space between left justification, ragged right. That's consistently the standard business format as you go through. A lot of them use the same type of format for your manuscript, except when you're doing a draft, always double space, because you need to sit down and plan on going through correcting, scanning, making certain your report is really sharp and crisp in the draft format as you go through. They can be helpful for committee members. And by the way, I formalized in 2 different colleges I went through. We sat down, we created a specific format for meeting agendas. You know, when you go to 14 different committee meetings in a month and you walk in and over here you got the meeting head over here, and then they don't take attendance. They do take attendance. You don't know who the members are. What is this committee about again? I kind of forgot. What we did is, here's the heading. All of them will be centered, this pitch font and this kind of font. Underneath it, you put your mission of that committee. And that way, when somebody comes rolling in and they bring in some bizarre thing and it's all about curriculum, it says, I want to talk about the food in the cafeteria. I'm sorry, this is not the committee for that. Look at the mission statement and let's remind ourselves, let's get back on track. Seriously, those kind of things happen. Also, who's on the committee and who should be the ones talking, because that's what the committee is about. Put their names up there. If they're not there in the minutes, make certain it's noted and that we can track who's there and who's not. Formats, uniformity of formats really helps you an awful lot. High structure, consistent formats help people to sit down there and get that stuff off the plate and they can focus on the real issues, which is the content, not the formats. So be consistent on it. Tips on letter reports: use a letter format for short informal reports sent to outsiders as you go through. Organize the back section into logical divisions. You want to have consistent headings. If you look on the example over here, here is the format that I recommend. Left justification, the ragged right. See, the ragged right goes in and out. You have single space paragraphs, double space between, sharp, crisp headers as you go through. There's no question what the next section is all about. It's clear, crisp, and the people that are looking at it know that you've done a good job. And here you go. It's crisp, nice, easy on the eyes, and easy to read. And if they want to not read part of it, they can actually skip it or not. Even though I know you spend a lot of time writing it, and they know that too. They want to focus in on the information that pertains to them as you go through. So other ones, single space the body, double space between paragraphs. Always leave the spacing between the headings as you go through. Have your side margins 1 to 1 1/4 inches. And if you have a second page heading, if necessary, make certain your name's on it, the date and the page number. Those things help. Sometimes even digitally, you're going through and you forget about who wrote it and what it's about. Put the page number on it as you go through and have your name on it since you're the author of it as you go through. Use a memo format for short, and we're talking about 10 or fewer pages, informal reports within the organization. Still leave those side margins the same. And on the memo, typically you have to and then from. On the from, you take your initials, ideally in a blue pen, to differentiate it from the actual black the ink that you have on the paper, and you sign it with blue, and that way it looks more authentic as you go through in the process as you're going through. Okay, and then consider attaching the memo to a cover email for delivery. That way the email kind of acts as your cover sheet to introduce the topics. Chunk similar information into groups for really good comprehension. Use headings to identify groupings as you go through. PDF documents are a very popular form of delivery. There's a couple things for that. Number one, when you're going down to the end of something, you sit down and you can hard return. You sit down, push enter in the process, and then you sit down and boom, all of a sudden you have a hard return and the page automatically sequences. But sometimes if you don't do a hard return on it, on control enter, then you may forget about it. And all of a sudden when you send it, you have one line jumps from page 1 to page 2. Well, okay, in the process, always remember control enter, that'll be a hard return. But the thing about a PDF, it really is not a document, it's actually a photograph as you go through, and it locks that in the process. You can always get the advanced Adobe format, you can always edit that. If you really receive it and you want to alter it, it's not unalterable, but it's hard to alter unless you know what you're doing. But the other part is you can actually transmit exactly what you want in the way that you want it to be seen with a PDF because it's a photograph, not a document. Some reports can be animated and they can be hyperlinked to other content as you go through. There's some really cool things you do on digital formats. Slide presentations can be converted into video as you go through as well. And slide decks are condensed into a really image-rich format, not intended for delivery. Depends what you're doing in the process. There's a lot of different ways to put functions as you go through. On this side over here, these are functionally executive summary, introduction, findings, discussion. Then you have talking headings, the best business laptop money can buy. That's certainly much more exciting than executive summary. Okay, will smartphones replace PCs? That's kind of a talking heading as you go through. It's going to depend on the style and what you want to convey in your report. Texting, the new smoking gun, by the way it is. Okay, what's new in social media? Different kinds of headings as you go through. The whole issue that comes down to is the functional headings. If they have to read the report, you have that as well. It's a much more really highly formal report structure as you go through. Those things you're seeing over there are common on formal reports, on investigations, legal documents, and so on. The ones on the right are more when you want to have somebody read your stuff and be excited about reading the content as you go through. Keep headings clear, uniform. Avoid orphans. No, not the people. We like orphan people. Okay, but when it comes down to a page, you want to make certain that when you're typing as you go through, you don't want to have one word on the next line. That's called an orphan. And even though it's not a nice term, that's what we call it. Okay, so you want to make certain either you take some words out of the line above it or you add some words to move it over to keep that poor orphan, give it some company as you go through. Otherwise, you have to send it over to the Orphan Society, and it isn't very good. We also call an orphan sometimes when you're going through, you type, and you have one line pops up on the next page, hanging out all by itself. That also is a type of orphan as you go through. You don't want that. You want to have at least open a page with 2 lines or no lines, or have a whole new paragraph there. You don't want to have a single line by itself. Avoid orphans. Have uniform punctuation. On this over here, you'll see I have a period at the end of each line as you go through. I have that to be uniform. You know what? On these, because of the fact they're not full sentences, you don't have to have a period, except I made a choice to have uniform punctuation throughout the document. And that way it's clear, bang, 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 bang. I took the time out to put that in there. Pay attention to how you go about doing that. You also want to apply uniform spacing. Spacing, making certain that your single space paragraphs, double space between. And that's also why you don't use a double justification. If you have a straight left line and a straight right line, double justify. You justify the left side and you justify the right side, what happens is the computer sits down there and it goes through and spaces the letters differently, and it really is distracting for the reader, and sometimes can give them a headache, and they just may not like that style of report because of the fact that they have these oddball spacing and your eyes aren't used to the pattern that you have in normal reading. So always apply uniform spacing. Don't use the double justification is my recommendation. Combination headings, functional and talking headings. Background, how Apple won. Okay, personnel, a savvy workforce. Those are actually much more interesting than just personnel. Okay, so you want to go through production costs. That's okay. The investment's paying off. Oh, I'm more interested. Investment's paying off. Okay, something's happening. The combination headings are really good headings. Make them short but clear. Experiment with wording about who, what, when, where, why, and how. Include at least one heading per report page. That way you're breaking up the report and it's not just text, 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 text. Boom, heading, bullet points the next page. A nice picture on the next page. You have different aspects to report to keep it creative and keep the brain going for the reader as you go through. Try to recreate headings that are parallel. If you're going to use a 2-word heading here, maybe it's a 2-word heading. Boom, 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 and your headings are 2 or 3 words. That's a way of having parallel headings. You can also have all headings that start with the same letter, the 4 Ps. So you have different methodologies as you go through at your headings, but you want them to sit down and look like they kind of go together and mesh in the process. Construct a hierarchy, replacement size font. A lot of times you have your main headings, left margin, you go through and you have it here and it's in bold 14 pitch, and then if you have a secondary heading on the inside, okay, it's not bold, it's underlined, but it's not all capitals as you go through, depending how you want to have it as you go and set it all up. Don't use more than 3 heading levels. That's just irritating, and people really get confused by it, and it really turns them off in the aspect of being confusing in the process. Make certain that people can understand where you're going with it. Here's an example, a typical title. Boom, over here you got the spacing, first level heading. The title is in caps, bold. Then you have another one. They're both centered as you go through, and your third level is a second level heading as you go through the process. And then finally you got a third. So you have really different, besides the title, you got 1, 2, 3, first, second, third. You'll see the different methodologies, the text differential, the actual placement differential as well. And so we look at that as you go through. And it depends what kind of font that you want when you're talking about it. So report formats, heading style, style type, and keep solid formats. Take care.